Welcome everybody in Fantasy Land. It's a fantasy forecast with Grindberg and bigz. This is our Saturday injury special. We are here with our guest, Dr. Marcus. I am Dr. bigz, and over there is Nurse Grindberg. The people said, "Hey, we need an injury show," and we listen to the people. That's how we bop. So we're gonna give you injury updates so you can set your lineups on Sunday, and then chat with me in the morning, breakfast with bigz, and I'll give you even further updates. And we are 3/8 of the Dukes Classic. One of us is in playoff position.
Not
guys.
I'm in position to get into the playoffs potentially. We'll see what happens. Amon St. Brown didn't do me any favors last night, just like Jaden Reed didn't do you any favors last night.
Oh no, I was hoping for an upset win, and Jaden Reed pretty much put the kibosh on that one.
So we'll see what happens, but there's some injuries here, some pretty big names that we got to discuss in this show. So let's get with it. All right, so first we'll talk about the Falcons and the Vikings game. We got Darnell Mooney dealing with an Achilles, but he didn't practice yesterday, but it looks like he's going to play this week. Nothing to really report there. So we're going to move on to the Carolina Panthers and the Philadelphia Eagles because there's some situations here we got to talk about. Devonta Smith, who's been sidelined with a hamstring injury the last couple of weeks, is on track to return for the Eagles. It looks like he's going to play. They said that today. Full participant in practice yesterday and today. He's had a solid year, averaging 57 yards per game. And it doesn't look like Dallas Goedert isn't going to be playing either. So, Marcus, given Devonta Smith's recent hamstring injury, how concerned should fantasy managers be about his ability to stay healthy for the rest of the year and perform at that high level?
Well, I think we'll have a pretty good indication on Sunday. It does look like he's going to play. He's a full participant this week. Which is a good sign because a lot of times you'll have hamstring injuries. They'll be limited throughout the week, and then they're even more of a question on Sundays. But he's fully participating, so he should be good to go. I do believe it was quite a mild strain. He didn't miss a ton of time, didn't have to go on IR like we saw Nico Collins do this year and Justin Jefferson do last year. So it seems pretty minor. He should be good to go. And historically, when Dallas Goedert does not play, he does very well in PPR formats. So I would start him if you have him and expect a pretty good performance against I want to say this nicely in case there's any Panthers fans, but not a great Panthers defense.
Yeah, I mean, they're ascending a little bit, but I mean, this game could be a bit tighter. But yeah, I do like this call, and I do like Devonta Smith as a must start this week. What about you, bigz?
Alcantara season.
There it is. Yeah, I mean, he's been able to come in and be serviceable when Goddard's been out. Let's move on to the Browns and the Steelers.
Hang on, I wanted to throw something out there. This is a little bit under the radar, but I have been smashing the Philadelphia Eagles defense, and I just got word today that do-it-all defensive back Reed Blankenship of the Phillies Phillies Vanilla Nice defense will not be in the game. He's a very important part of that. So that gives a little uptick to your Adam Thielens, your Xavier Legette's, your Tommy Trembles, your Bryce Youngs.
Yeah, okay, good call.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I like that call. So let's move on to the Steelers and the Browns. And we know that Marcus is a Steelers fan, but we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns here because Cedric Tillman is currently in concussion protocol, looking like he's coming back this week. He remains in protocol, but it looks like he's going to get cleared. Tillman has been a solid contributor to the Browns receiving core, and his return could be crucial as the team prepares to face the Steelers. Now, bigz, with Cedric Tillman returned, what role do you see him playing in Cleveland's offense, and how does his return impact the team's wide receiver hierarchy, especially in terms of who will be the wide receiver one? Because we know that Jerry Jeudy looked good last week.
He plugs right into, I mean, a lot of times you get guys that they ascend, and he ascended after the Amari Cooper trade and absolutely flashed, then went out hurt. And when you have a situation like that where the perceived number one in that wide receiver room gets traded away because they want to elevate the other wide receiver one, When that guy comes back, he pretty much retakes the role that he had before. So whatever they had schemed up for Cedric Tillman before, they're going to do it. Maybe Jerry Jeudy took over some of that. Maybe not. Maybe Jerry Jeudy was just doing Jerry Jeudy things the whole time Cedric Tillman was gone. They just didn't have Cedric Tillman's role to go to also. So it does eat into Jerry Jeudy's production a little bit. I think if anything, it means fewer targets for Elijah Moore because, let's face it, Jameis Winston is going to be looking for Jeudy and Tillman. So, sorry, Elijah, you had a good run.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that call as well. Marcus, you got anything to add to that one?
No, I pretty much agree. The last time Tillman played against Pittsburgh, I mean, it was that weird snow globe kind of game, but he didn't have a huge game. It was more Jeudy. I think Jeudy had like 5 for 75 or something a pretty good stat line. But I don't know. You know, he typically those big X kind of receivers, that's not the area where the Steelers defense struggles. It's more so the route runner archetype that have given them trouble this year. So, yeah, I think Jeudy, he's been on a roll. I think he's probably the lead dog in that room, as we saw in his revenge game against Denver. You know, Jameis is hot right now, and the Steelers secondary has been good but been penalized a lot, so they're going to be getting picked on through the air. So I think any Browns receiver this week is probably a pretty good option.
All right, I like that call. All right, so let's move on to the Bucs and the Raiders. And running back Bucky Irving has been limited in practice this week due to that hip/back injury he sustained in that kick return in Week 13 win over the Panthers. Now, Coach Bowles and other sources suggest that his absence was primarily for just extra rest. Irving has been stellar. We know that, leading all rookies with scrimmage yards with 1,000, 732 rushing yards. But, you know, I think he's going to be expected to play this weekend. With Bucky Irving dealing with that hip back injury, how would you assess his fantasy outlook for, you know, Week 14, and how would his injury impact his performance there, Marcus, against the Raiders?
Yeah, so it's nice that he had an increase in practice activity coming into Friday here. That is a good sign. With the injuries he does have, it is the missed practice was more so due to maintenance, as you mentioned. So I wouldn't be super concerned. You know, the Raiders have do you hear something weird?
Yeah, my dog's playing with his little weirdy ball.
Okay, I just had to make sure that wasn't my cats. You know, they like to make an appearance. But I didn't see them. So, okay. But anyways, I wouldn't be super concerned for Bucky. I would play him. I think he's probably going to get a decent workload. And the Raiders defense, sorry, bigz, has been giving up a good amount of points to opposing fantasy running backs this year. So
until last week.
And yes, correct.
Yes, absolutely.
Which they should have won, and I would have won a survival pool had they pulled it off.
They won.
They won, and yeah, they definitely won. Yeah,
they won every way that they could.
Yeah. And other than the scoreboard, they definitely had some. They definitely had some wins last week. Absolutely, and you know, they did last year too against my Chiefs. They had their win on Christmas Day, and they definitely play the Chiefs really well. And I know that already. So let's talk about the Raiders, though, bigz. Zamir White continues to battle that lingering quad injury. With White potentially out here, it's Sincere McCormick, who has certainly been impressive over the last 2 weeks, showcasing his consistent production. He's had 14 touches, 65 yards last week, and a 38% snap share. His explosive run rate and ability to break tackles made him one of the more efficient backs for the Raiders. Now, given his performance, where do you see McCormick now, especially in comparison to the other backs? Do you think he could realistically be the Raiders' RB1 moving forward, or is it too early to make that call?
I think it's too early to make that call. Alexander Madison is on his way back, and I feel like Raiders brass had high hopes for Madison. There's something about coaches when they watch a guy play and he does some things that are like kind of nice versus haters who are digging into the analytics to try and find things to say that are wrong about the player. So That's what I did, and that's why I know that Alexander Madison is inefficient and shouldn't find his way onto the playing field. But I also know through coach speak that Antonio Pierce likes him and thinks that, because of some explosive runs, even though he's inefficient on a down-to-down basis, he does have a few big plays and some red zone touchdowns and stuff, and that just has to be good in the coach's eyes. So I think Alexander Madison returns to that RB1 role if he's on the field. Amir Abdullah slides back to the RB2, which was, the plan from the get-go. And as much as we love Sincere McCormick and want him to just, completely take over everything, I have a feeling that he's going to be extremely limited in this game.
All right. So those of you, proceed with caution. If we're hoping that Sincere McCormick would come in and be, relevant this week. Definitely, there's that opportunity, but definitely tread with caution here. bigz definitely has, got his ear to the ground there.
The bottom line is, if you are trying to figure out how to get a Raider into your lineup, pivot and do something else.
There you go. I mean, I would try and get Brock Bowers in my lineup.
Obviously. No, I mean running backs. Yeah. Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers are smash starts.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's hear from our community where, we can go and hang out.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
Yeah, let's go there and, get those pro memberships. Now let's move on to the Saints and Giants. Now the big name here is wide receiver Malik Neighbours, dealing with that hip flexor injury after being hurt on Thursday in practice. He didn't practice Friday. There are some concerns now. This injury follows a previous issue with his groin, adding to the uncertainty. If Neighbours is unable to go, it would be a significant blow for the Giants and the receiving corps. So Marcus, given his hip flexor injury, that he missed practice, how should fantasy managers approach his status in Week 14, and how would his impact, and his absence affect the Giants' passing game or lack thereof?
Right. The downgrade is definitely not ideal this late in the week, especially with it being soft tissue and him getting an MRI to assess the severity. I do not love the outlook for Sunday, at least right now until they release more information. But a hunch would say that he probably won't play this week, getting downgraded 2 days before the game. And again, needing a test is not a great sign. We know he's their top target earner, so without him, they're already, what are they, 2-10? Like they're not really playing for much at this point other than pride. So if you're looking at other options there, Wandale is going to be good for his underneath targets. But after that, maybe I don't even know.
Jalen Hyatt running wins.
I mean, he's going to be in there getting his weekly cardio, but to play him as a fantasy option, I would look elsewhere. It's looking pretty glum in the Big Apple right now.
Yeah,
I feel like the 2-10 teams tell us who they are.
Yeah, fair. By fumbling on the last play of the game. All right, folks, let's continue on here and let's talk about the Jets and Dolphins and some big news here. Breece Hall missed back-to-back practices due to a knee injury, casting doubt on his availability in Week 14. It looks like he's going to be doubtful this week. Hall has accumulated almost 1,100 scrimmage yards, 6 touchdowns this season. Given Breece Hall's injury and the Jets' playoff situation, should fantasy managers be concerned about this injury long-term, Marcus? And is there a chance the Jets might shut him down for the rest of the season?
I would hope they don't do that. But again, they're pretty much out of it as well. So it's all, they got a new coach, new GM coming into the future. So there's going to be a lot of changes in New York. It really just depends how they want to handle this. Again, he probably won't play Sunday. So if you have Braylon Allen or if he's available on waivers, if you want a free volume running back play, he's probably a good target. But I don't know, because there's not a ton of information about it. You just see downgraded with a knee injury. Don't really know the severity quite yet, so that is something to monitor moving forward. Next week in practice, if you see does not participate, Wednesday into Thursday into Friday, that's not good. Next week starts fantasy playoffs for most leagues, so keep an eye on it. Not sure about shutting down for the season, but in terms of this week, he's probably not going to play on Sunday, so get him out of your lineups.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, bigz, on the other side, then, we've got this emerging backup there. The Jets now been eliminated 3-9, and Braylon Allen took over. Is going to be taken over as the lead back if Breece Hall can't go. He could see upwards of 15 to 20 touches against the Dolphins, who've allowed 9 rushing touchdowns this season. His matchup against Miami is considered average. So with his potentially sidelined Breece Hall, do you trust Braylon Allen to handle that full workload this week? I know you're a truther, but against Miami and the situation, what are your thoughts on Braylon Allen?
I absolutely am confident in Braylon Allen being able to get the job done. He's had a few times during this season where he's had quite a few targets or quite a few touches, quite a few opportunities, and he was completely up for the task. I spent this morning running through all my lineups and making sure that I was either starting Braylon Allen, making a claim on him, or picking him up as if Breece Hall wasn't going to play.
Yeah, and there's not many leagues out there that I've seen that he was even available, even in some of the deeper ones, because people were just on it after last week's injury. So, let's hope for Breece Hall, and hopefully that it's not a long-term thing where he's shelved for more than this week, and it's just a minor injury here, but something to monitor here, folks. Let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks and Arizona Cardinals. A couple guys popped up again here. DK Metcalf with his shoulder injury. He's missed 2 sessions this week with an injury. While he played in week 13, his performance was hindered by Geno Smith's pressure, leading to a low catchable target rate. Now, Marcus, given his shoulder injury, what are your thoughts on DK Metcalf this week?
I think you have to look at his body of practice this week, which he's been logging limited practices, and then as well the point in the season and who they're playing. So they're very much in the mix right now with the Cardinals, and I think the Rams are still technically hanging in there too. So I do think that the matchup and the point in the season matters a lot to these injuries. We talked about it early in the season with Jordan Love when he got hurt in week 1. I was like, hey, they're going to take their time. It's super early. If this were a week 14 game against the Lions, he might try to push through it and get in there. So for that reason, I think him and also I see you have here Kenneth Walker too, who's also been limited in practice. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to do pretty much everything in their power to get out there. Being limited is a good sign that they're logging multiple practices. At this stage in the season too, a lot of people are banged up. So limited could just be a little bit more of a precaution by the teams, just for a little bit of load management during the week, as they approach the end of the season. But I would expect both of those guys to give it a go this week in a very important divisional matchup against the Cardinals, who I think are leading the division, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yeah. And Kenneth Walker is not likely to play.
Yeah, he was DNP yesterday and today as well, I'm pretty sure.
And when the coach was asked,
he was a does not participate. That's my bad. Okay.
When the coach was asked what was going to happen, he was like, "I have no idea. Like they don't know what's going on with him, or as far as his availability is concerned.
Okay,
obviously they know the injury, but he's not looking good, and he's been down and not playing very well the last few weeks anyway."
Yeah, and now let's move on to the Bears and 49ers. The Bears have got a slew of injuries here, so there's a lot of uncertainty here. Wide receiver DJ Moore, running back DeAndre Swift, and also Roschon Johnson all had some issues with practice. Moore, who leads the team with 62 catches, 663 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's been a key to the Bears offense, especially in the last couple of weeks. And Swift, he leads the team in carries, 700 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. If he's unavailable for Sunday's game against the 49ers, it looks like maybe Travis Homer comes in with, if Roschon doesn't play either. So given Moore's quad injury, Marcus, and his missed practices, how concerned should we be about his availability in week 14? And if he's out, who is the primary option? I'm thinking Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's Keenan, but reading the most recent reports on my boy DJ Moore, he's fairly optimistic that he's going to play. He is listed as questionable, but there's a quote of him saying, "I play through anything." So I think he's going to, he's going to get out there. He's a big-time competitor. You've seen it on the field. Sometimes his frustrations get the best of him, but he is a very competitive player, you can see. So I do think he's going to be out there. The running back situation, though, Roschon Johnson today was listed out with a concussion. And, Swift's status questionable as well. So they traded Khalil Herbert. So it's kind of a who's who in that backfield right now. But for DJ Moore, I do think he's going to play, which, again, would make him the top. I guess you could say 1A and 1B because Keenan Allen's been getting a lot of love as of late too. So Caleb Williams has been playing better as of late. So I would play DJ Moore if you have him.
Yeah, and I think especially if these running backs are out, they're going to probably want to design some stuff off the line for him getting more involved in the run game as well. I could see that happening. Now, Biggs, what do they do if both Swift and Roschon are out? How much of a fantasy impact can you expect out of like Travis Homer?
Probably about as much as you could have expected from Khalil Herbert.
Fair.
No, not much. Let's look at their roster real quick. At the running back position, there's DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson, Travis Homer, and Robert Burns, Ian Wheeler, Demetric Felton, and Darrington Evans. Darrington Evans had a spike week last year. That's about it. If I was the coach, I would run with Demetric Felton and Darrington Evans. But I guess Travis Homer is the guy they've been looking at a little bit more. He does have some snaps and 3 attempts this year. So again, just like with the Raiders, just avoid it. I mean, you don't like put somebody else in your flex or whatever. Just avoid it.
All right, and we got one more key injury we want to hit up here, and that's Ladd McConkey. He's been limited in practice, second straight day yesterday, so I didn't get his update on Friday. But, he's been injured as of late, and he's, looking great in the meantime. So he's been a crucial part of their offense, coming off his second straight 100-yard game and leading the Chargers in receiving. If McConkey is active, we know he's a must-start given his volume, but considering his knee injury, his shoulder issues, how concerned should fantasy managers be about his availability in Week 14? And if he plays, should he be viewed as a high-end wide receiver 1 against the Chiefs? Let's get them to Marcus. Yeah,
if he plays, I mean, you got to ride the hot hand. He's building a chemistry with Justin Herbert as the season progresses. He by far the stat line was hilarious against the Ravens game. It was like he was 8 catches for 105.
Yeah,
I think the next highest person had like 11 receiving yards or something like that. So
I think he had like a 50% target share or something like that.
Yeah,
I think it was
something ridiculous. So if he plays, you got to play him. So there's no data on this. However, this is just something I've observed paying attention to injury reports and, who plays and who sits out. Usually when people have a couple things listed, they're both pretty minor, nothing that is super concerning to miss time. If it's like for example, Bucky Irving, like ribs and hip. Taysom Hill earlier this year, it was like ribs, back, couple. Usually when you see multiple things, they're more like nagging, ailing, as Mike Tomlin would say, bumps and bruises associated with play. So I don't really think that this is going to be something that keeps him out long term. So I do expect him to play. He is, again, logging practices. I always look for limited versus does not participate. Those are usually a big teller throughout the week. Limited, if they can log at least 2 in a row, you're usually going to be looking at minimum a questionable tag. Do not participate usually will lead you to doubtful or out during the week. Usually.
And Ladd has practiced in a limited capacity all week. So every day of the week. He has an AC joint injury and a knee sprain. And the knee sprain he suffered in the game last week, it did not bring him off the field. So that's basically why they've been limiting him. And the AC joint sprain has been something that he's been dealing with for a large part of the season. So just like Marcus said, these are two things that he's dealing with, not anything that's going to keep him from playing.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, well said. And anything to add about Ladd McConkey, Biggs? He is your guy.
You know, my flag plant speaks for itself.
Yeah, there you go, folks. Yeah, that was, us wrapping up week 14 here, injury news. We're getting into the crucial weeks of the fantasy football season. Playoffs are, if they're not already started in a lot of leagues, are starting next week. And
I've already been eliminated from one of them.
There you go. Well,
it's a bad beat.
Hopefully,
a bad beat. Shout out to my girl Charlene Erickson. Damn.
Okay.
I had that league too. I had that league. It was all mine. Just had a bad week.
Oh, that's unfortunate. But we're headed in the playoffs. Let's continue the momentum. Let's continue to build our folks championships. Marcus, tell everybody where they can find you and all your stuff.
Sure thing. You can find me on Twitter or X at MDGailey, part of the Undroppables Network, and also pitching in here with my boys Grindberg and bigz. Look up the Undroppables on YouTube. You'll see some of my live and past content there with the Steelers show, and also a little bit of some injury content as well for you.
Are you watching Hard Knocks?
Yeah, good first episode.
It was pretty good.
I think sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I kind of like how they're doing the whole division instead of just one. It kind of like gives some dynamism to the episode, but not that I wanted to see the Browns at all.
Fair.
Yeah, we'll see them again on next week's episode because they're playing the Steelers.
Yes, there you go. We love it. All right, folks. Biggs, take us home like you always do so eloquently.
Go ahead and watch our waiver wire show on Tuesdays. I've got Queen's Ransom with me and Amber on Wednesday nights. Thursday, we've got Points After Thursday after the Thursday night football game live with Biggs and Grindberg and whoever else decides to show up that week. Friday is our start and sit show. Saturday is our injury waiver wire or injury show. And Sunday morning, 8 a.m. or 11 a.m. is breakfast with Biggs. And I answer starts and sits questions and give you a nice little breakfast cocktail recipe. So we're coming at you 5-6 days a week. And just stay tuned. Fantasy Football Advice Network, fantasysportsadvice.com. Find us on Twitter, find us on YouTube, and we're here for you. We got you.
Yeah, and we hope you win. Right?
Unless your name is Jax Falcone.
There you go. We hope you win. Peace out.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
I want to say since I started doing that,